This is going to be a short video talking about something that may seem extremely obvious to some of you, but you'll be surprised how many times a simple problem comes down to two very simple things. So, if you have any electrical problems on your bike, before you start assuming there's some major problems, first of all, check two things. The first is your fuse. And if you're not sure what a fuse looks like, this is a modern fuse. And this is, shall we say, an old school fuse. So it's important for you to know where the fuse is located on your bike. And usually it is mounted directly from the plus on your battery and then delivers power to the rest of the bike. So that's the first thing to check. The next thing to check is the condition of your battery. And I cannot tell you how many times someone has told me a story where they've replaced their coil, their generator, their regulator, all kinds of major components on their bike, and it was simply they just needed a new battery. You have to remember that these batteries, especially going through a cold winter, can easily die. So, and the thing is, you basically, to check a battery, you can use a voltmeter, but you've got to remember that is only checking the volts. It's not checking the amps. So you could have a reading of 12.4, so you think to yourself, oh, the battery is fine. But the battery could be collapsed inside, and that is only read through an amp meter, which is a pretty expensive piece of equipment. My advice for you is, as I've mentioned before, buy yourself a smart charger, because if you put a smart charger on there, it will indicate if the battery is damaged inside, which a voltmeter will not. So before you go replacing all those expensive parts, make sure your battery is okay. The first thing to always check if you've got any kind of electrical problem is your battery. People always jump to the conclusion that it's something else on their bike, whether it be the generator, the regulator, or the coil. And I can tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's the battery. And what they do is they check the battery with a voltmeter, get a reading of 12.4, 12.5, and they think, oh, the battery is good. Remember, a voltmeter only checks for volts. It doesn't mean that the battery is not collapsed inside. It can hold power even though it's collapsed. So the thing to do is make sure you have a good battery charger, a smart charger. I would always recommend you get a C-Tech charger. And if you plug it into your battery, that will quite quickly tell you if your battery has failed. It has a red light saying, nope, your battery's fucked. So then, buy a new battery. Because I can tell you stories of clients, exchanging various parts of their bike, and they call me up and I tell them, have you changed the battery? No. They go and change the battery, and then I never get a call back. Next thing is to make sure you've got good electrical connectors. If you come in here, you can see this is good, strong electrical connectors. You can see I've soldered it, and I've crimped it, and I've put heat wrap on it. It's good thick wire here and here. It's got a good ground over here, a good bolt, Loctited, everything is done correctly and well. And basically, these are super important. These are the most important electrical connections on your bike, especially your ground. We have talked about when it comes to your electrics, the first thing to do is to check your battery. Now, the other thing you can do is to eliminate that it's not your generator or regulator. We can run a test to make sure that you're getting the correct voltage, charging voltage from your charging system. And the way to do that is we will start off by taking a reading of your battery as the bike is not running. And it should be around somewhere between 12.4 to 12.6. Then start your bike, and with a slightly higher revs than your idle, take a reading, and it should be somewhere between 13.6 to 13.8. And it should be a steady current. If it's flicking up and down from 12, 11, 13, 14, stuff like that, if it's flicking up quite inconsistently, then you know you've got a problem with your regulator. If there's nothing coming through, then you know there's a problem with your generator. Now in some cases, that can also happen if you have a bad battery. So that's why I'm saying the first thing I would always do is buy a new battery or borrow a battery from a friend, put it on your bike and do that same test and see what happens. And obviously, if you've got a brand new battery in there, or good battery, and it has an inconsistent charging rate jumping up and down, then you know you've got a problem with your charging system, and then you can take care of that accordingly. And you do that, you do this test by using a voltmeter, and you put the red one on the plus and the black one on the negative, and then you take those readings.